Hey, Charlie.
Hey, Jimmy.
When is a door a Gungan?
When it's a Jar Jar.
Yeah!
I'm so smart. I was so clever.
God.
What do I suggest? Roger, roger.
Jedi.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
Always a pleasure to meet you.
My allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
You failed, Your Highness. I'm a Jedi.
Hello, explorers. I'm Charlie, and welcome to episode 122. And as always, thank you very, very much for joining us. Now, if you like what you hear, please leave us a rating on your podcast provider of choice. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're joining us via YouTube.
Yes, as always, welcome back. I am Jack, or welcome along if you are new. Jimmy has been fired due to his bad jokes, so he's not going to be joining us until the main show. He's had to shoot off. Charlie, how are you, my love? How's your week been?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm settling. House is getting sorted. Things are moving. The office upstairs is being done next week, hopefully. So I will be able to actually sit at a desk and not sit on the floor. 10 out of 10. How are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, all good. Obviously, the quiz came back again last Friday.
Yes.
That really took off. It's been a good week. This week's question for the listeners and viewers is: what is the name of Jabba's illustrious Twi'lek servant, which later takes his throne, which Boba Fett ultimately removes? And like I mentioned, we are back this week for the Explore the Force quiz, so make sure you tune in. Charlie, what fun fact have you got for us this week?
Ooh, it is a good one this week. Did you know before Darth Vader's lightsaber, which is proudly in my collection as per last week's episode, can't show it to you guys though. I don't have my fancy little special gloves. It sold at auction for $3.6 million and as of now is the most expensive Star Wars prop ever sold. But before that, the most expensive Star Wars prop was the original Red Leader X-Wing model that was made by ILM artist Greg Jane and was used in the final scenes of A New Hope. This little piece of history sold at auction for $3.1 million.
Wow.
Mad. What you crazy, crazy fans will pay. Absolutely mad.
Insane. Right, let's head over to this week's Force Encounters because I know Charlie has had some insane encounters herself.
For my ally is the Force.
Okay, I'll start off just briefly. So I've had lots going on obviously this week. The Explore the Force quiz was amazing. Thank you to everybody that's been reaching out, wanting to come on. I'm just getting through the messages. We will get people on. And I've also been very busy just doing lots of Star Wars Lego brick heads and building those. Charlie, I want to hear all about your Force encounter.
Oh my goodness. So obviously last week I wasn't here because on Saturday I had the earliest and longest day known to mankind, and it meant by the time Sunday came around I was so wiped out I just couldn't hack it. So you guys are getting my Force encounter from last week this week. It is Invasion Colchester. Now, last Saturday, this very, very sleepy Jedi got up at silly o'clock in the morning to travel all the way to Colchester to spend the day with my friends at Saber Guild and participate in one of the coolest events I think I've ever been to, Invasion Colchester. Now, most cons you guys have probably been to take up a few halls, one location, maybe two next door to each other if you're lucky. Invasion was spread over the entire city of Colchester. Every street was filled with cosplayers, cars, props, stalls, and it was nothing short of magical. This was my first official troop with Saber Guild since getting my Rey costume cleared. And what a joy to teach so many fantastic adults and kids the ways of being a Jedi. We must have handed out 100 certificates to future Padawans and acolytes. The order may return yet, guys. And a special, special shout out to the fantastic location for our classes for that day. The Dragonfly Lounge is Colchester's newest gay and drag bar. The vibes were absolutely immaculate. The staff were wonderful, and the energy of the day was bright and bubbly from start to finish. Now, Before I get too distracted talking about lightsabers and Jedis and being photographed eating a sandwich, don't ask, it happens all the time. Jackie boy, I have a bone to pick with you, right?
What?
There I am teaching my precious, even in Canada, you can still be a nuisance to me, teaching my precious younglings how to be good, well-behaved, respectable, honourable Jedi when suddenly 2 sand troopers appear and I'm being arrested. Marched out onto the street, paraded in front of the city for my supposed crimes, I heard on the comms that this was all your fault. Absolutely outrageous. Video evidence will be being uploaded to our socials, but I still plead my innocence. Thank you to Wayne and Helen. I actually did have the time of my life. You guys were brilliant.
Yeah, massive shout out to the Cooper Smiths, big listeners of the show. Thank you very much to the rest of you as well. In the Britannia Patrol, I have friends everywhere.
Yes,
Awesome
you
job,
do.
guys and girls. Right, let's head into this week's news.
The people in this crowd will soon be among almost 40,000.
For those who are among the
who've seen a new
900
science
with news
fiction
media or
movie at
promotional
parks and
tickets, this
zoos.
sneak preview probably will be the only chance to see the Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, so there's a tiny little bit of news about Mando and Grogu. A little bit of a chat sort of sorts. So the Mandalorian and Grogu has now been revealed at the Walt Disney Studios Marketing Expo in Shanghai. Little update on that then, and it says, as the Force's heir in the galaxy and the Mandalorian's most adorable partner, Grogu has taken the world by storm with his mischievous and endearing charm since his debut. It reads, Grogu-themed merchandise spanning all channels, categories, and age groups will soon be available. The Grogu storm is about to hit. What do we think about that, Charlie?
Right, first and foremost, it's air, not hair.
Hair,
Grogu's hair, beautiful. Love that. So obviously this is merchandising pitching, so this isn't necessarily anything too film specific, but the phrase "as the Force's heir in the galaxy" seems like some real specific wording for the little green guy. However, hello, ladies and guys, we already had like the Grogu fad. Like, I need you to understand. I think I have about 5 pairs of Grogu socks. I have t-shirts, I have cuddlies, I have Funkos. My family members have tormented me with Grogu as Christmas and birthday presents for the last 5 years. Please, I can't take anymore. I'm begging you, I can't take it. I don't have the space. Ignore all of this. I don't have the space.
There's a lot.
What do they mean, Force's heir in the galaxy? But also, Jack, we've also had an updated logo. Take a look. If you guys aren't watching on the Spotify video version or the YouTube, switch over and take a look, because we've got a different color scheme. There's been some moving around of some logos and some kind of iconography. So I'm not
going to read too much into this.
Nah. Can you tell we're desperate? Can you tell we're absolutely desperate for anything right now?
It's a lot more Christmas there. What other news have we had reference other Star Wars goodness, Charlie?
So not only have we had the tiniest sliver of little bit about Mando and Grogu, we've had some slightly more definitive answers regarding Ahsoka Season 2. Ooh, according to IMDb, the directors and cinematographers for the 8 episodes of Season 2 of Ahsoka have been revealed. So far, we've got in the directing chair, episodes 1 and 8 are currently unlisted, but I think we can assume it will most likely be the man himself, Dave Filoni. Episodes 2 and 3 are being headed by Jennifer Getzinger, who is one of the people behind Daredevil and Westworld, which is super, super cool. I think we're getting kind of that gritty, dark. I'm really, really here for that. Episodes 4 and 5, everybody hold your horses. Bryce Dallas Howard is back. The Queen has returned. The icon is back in the directing chair. Yes. Her episodes of Skeleton Crew were beautiful. Her episodes of Mando and Grogu were also beautiful. She gets it. She also really gets the emotional, the tender episodes, which I'm so excited for. And episodes 6 and 7 are being headed by Anders Engstrom, who did Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which I've heard very, very good things about.
Yeah, decent.
And our cinematographers, episodes 1, 4, and 5, we've got Eric Steelberg, who did a large portion of season 1. So similar visual cues across the board, which makes me really happy. Episodes 2, 3, and 6 are being headed by Stefan McPherson, I believe his last name is pronounced, who did Black Mirror, the Charlie Brooker series on Netflix, and Wednesday. So I wonder if we'll be getting some horror elements, some psychological thriller, some of that energy. And obviously 7 and 8 are Baz Iderwine, who did quite a lot of episodes of The Mandalorian. So it feels like it's all tying together really, really nicely. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, excited. Bryce Dallas Howard, BDH, more of. Give her a movie, please. I've been saying this for ages now. Hype for the lineup, really excited, especially 6 and 7 with Anders from Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Great little movies as well. And obviously Dave Filoni, hopefully he's starting it off 1 and finishing it off with 8. So yeah, hyped. Next up, Dragon Con recently concluded, and we have loved seeing everyone's amazing cosplays. But did any of you catch what John Boyega said during our panel? As we all know, Spaceballs is returning to our scenes. The cult classics Star Wars parody and our own FN 2187 wants to get involved. Quoted saying that his phone hasn't rung yet, so I have to come to here and just say it. He said, as quoted by Popverse, they could pick up the phone and give me a call. Let me make Spaceballs legit. So essentially, he'd love a role in Spaceballs. Who wouldn't want more John Boyega? What do you reckon, Charlie?
Oh, 100% yes. I feel like he would have I feel like for all of the struggles that he had with Star Wars, to go in and get to be a part of like the biggest, most well-known, like well-loved parody of Star Wars would be absolutely sensational. 100% yes. Go. Do that.
Get on there. What other news have we got, Charlie?
So I have got 2 bits of news to dig through before we finish up. So get your thumbs ready and cast your minds back to a few episodes ago, because Stern have finally revealed their Star Wars Fall of the Empire pinball machine. Here she is in all of her glory. There is a release trailer on YouTube. The thumbnail is up here now so you guys can get a good look. It's gorgeous. The artwork is fantastic. Can I please have one for my new house?
That's
now,
unreal. If only you didn't
isn't
buy
it
that Vader
beautiful?
lightsaber, Charlie.
I know. I've spent all of my money, I'm afraid. I've spent all of my allotted Star Wars money. I'm going to read you guys the blurb from their website, because this is some sensational writing. In Stern Pinball's Star Wars Fall of the Empire pinball games, players will take part in the adventures that started it all and experience iconic Star Wars-inspired moments through a pinball experience like no other. Players will take down the AT-AT by attaching their snowspeeder's tow cable and shooting the spiral ramp to send it crashing down, mirroring the breathtaking scene from The Empire Strikes Back. Destroy the second Death Star from Return of the Jedi by lowering shields on the battle station during Death Star multi-balls to save the galaxy.
Insane.
Players can also escape from Cloud City when reactivating the Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive by hitting the center jump ramp to escape to hyperspace. What? Throughout the pinball experience, players will enter Jabba the Hutt's Sarlacc pit, battle stormtroopers, defeat TIE fighters, and even mimic using the Force to save your ball on the journey to defeating the Empire. Feel the power of the dark side as you enjoy special Darth Vader-inspired modes. Accompanying the over 1,000 high-quality film and audio assets integrated into the gameplay, the Star Wars Fall of the Empire pinball games feature the iconic movie score in addition to the hand-drawn, vibrant artwork. The games feature custom audio callouts from actor Chris Bartlett as C-3PO. So if you ever wanted to know why these pinball machines are in like the thousands and thousands of dollars, that is why. These are
$10,000 they were going for.
Yeah, the limited edition, like the best one of the bunch, is I think just shy of 10K. These are not just pinball machines. This is art. This is a piece of art to own in your home. Like, I cannot wrap my head around it.
I want the left-hand side one. Look, as we're looking at it with Luke and Vader.
Isn't
That'd be the one
it
I'd go for.
beautiful? I urge people to go and watch the trailer. There's some gorgeous close-up kind of sweeping shots of the inside of the cabinet and the outside of the artwork. It's breathtaking.
Unreal.
Now, our last little bit of news, which I think will tie in nicely with the main show. We'll get there when we get there. It is a sad week for all of my Brits and music lovers out there. The proms, and if people don't know what the proms are, it's an 8-week summer season hosted in the UK of daily orchestral and classical music concerts, predominantly held in the Royal Albert Hall in London. Prom season has now come to a close as the summer is over with a sensational performance from Brian May of Queen. Don't stop me now, but I actually want to talk about a performance that happened
Sorry, guys and girls.
on the 9th of August. Now, we all know that John Williams' iconic score for Star Wars was inspired by the Planet Suite by Gustav Holst. And this year, the National Youth Orchestra brought some of the most well-known pieces from the suite and performed them alongside the main theme of Star Wars in a beautiful harmony of inspiration and inspirer. Conducted by Dalia Stasovska, the group of talented teens delighted the audience with the mysterious beauty of Neptune and the rousing Jupiter theme, and the Pulitzer Prize-winning Caroline Shaw's piece that was inspired by sci-fi and some stargazing. It was a beautiful performance and a real love letter to the music that we all know so, so well. Happy prom season, everybody. I hope you've all enjoyed yourselves. And for my Brits and my UK listeners out here, you can go and watch that performance now on BBC iPlayer.
Nice. Right. Speaking of musical talents and the like, let's head over to this week's main show where we're joined by a very special guest.
It's just a simple jump to hyperspace and we're there. What's so tricky about that?
Plenty. Can't plot a direct course to Kessel. You might wanna buckle up, baby.
Okay, so joining us this week on the main show is the incredibly talented man behind the music for Explore the Force. It's our own John Williams. It's Mark Rolfe.
Hello.
How's it going, buddy?
Hi, guys. Lovely to see you.
Always a pleasure. How's things been?
Yeah, really good. Really good. I'm absolutely engrossed in Star Wars music for the last 2 months. It's a really busy time of year. You know, we've got Echo Live coming up. So part of me, I'm sorting all the entertainment and the band, having music out for that. So learning lots and lots of new music, researching lots of new Star Wars music, and I'm making a new Star Wars album amongst other things, which I've nearly finished, and I'm going to treat you to a little preview tonight. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, lots just the usual, you know, Star Wars music and
amazing. As always, thank you for joining us, and like you alluded to there, and for the listeners and viewers, make sure you stick around towards the end of the show, because an Imperial agent has sneakily got a snippet, maybe, of Mark's incredible work.
We've got friends everywhere.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, let's dive into this main show. I think people kind of missed this interview, or for some reason we're slightly ahead of things. I'm not sure because it hasn't been as blown up as I thought it would be. But this week's inspired by a recent interview with Mark Hamill. We're exploring the alternative history of what Star Wars sequel trilogy might have been without Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and Harrison Ford returning.
Mark opened up about how he nearly declined the role that he thinks helped relaunch his career. He was speaking with The Hollywood Reporter for an interview that was published on September the 11th. The 73-year-old actor admitted that he was hesitant to accept a role in 2017 Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Yes. Some quotes from the interview. I had real reservations about coming back. I thought it would be a mistake, he shared, opening up about why he initially considered declining the role in the movie. You can't catch lightning in a bottle twice. They should really focus on a new generation of characters. He said, and I thought, well, Harrison Ford's not going to do it anyways, he continued. You could see his irritation with constantly having to talk about Solo. But then, of course, we know that it was announced. I think he might have been the first one that it was announced. Once I saw in the press that he had accepted, I felt like I had been drafted. Because if I'm the only one of the original trilogy, along with the late Carrie Fisher, who says no, I'll be the most hated man in the galaxy. So now we have to take a look at things. How would that have looked? Because that was my first, when I read this, and I actually found an interview, I don't know if it was during Force Awakens or not, but he said something similar to this, almost the exact same thing about catching lightning in a bottle twice.
Yeah.
And so this is something he's felt for a while. Maybe it was just brushed over the first time. He also threw a nice shady dig at Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams in there that I don't think people really picked up on, which is a little bit disappointing. But, I found it. I thought it was interesting. But let's dive into this, Charlie. What do you think?
I think we really do have to dig in. Obviously, I appreciate that Harrison Ford, out of all of them, has been the most vocal about how he doesn't like talking about Star Wars. He doesn't like Star Wars being mentioned. He doesn't really want anything to do with Star Wars. And I think whilst as fans, we were so excited to see these characters return, I can imagine for the actors, like this is something that happened in like the prime of their youth when they were young, they were unknown, and probably didn't expect to still be talking about it, still be a part of it, and still be, like he said, kind of drafted into a whole new set of films. Our first question to the floor was, how much do you guys think the promise of seeing Luke, Leia, and Han led to the hype and excitement for the sequels in the first place? Because I think those two things were really, really key. I really don't think the sequels would have been as hyped and as like sought after by the fan base if we didn't have the original trilogy.
Well, I'll start us off. So I think straight away, they definitely added to the excitement 100%. I remember seeing the trailer for Force Awakens and that bit where him and Chewie come through and he says, we're home, literally brought a tear to my eye. So in terms of promotion and building that excitement, yeah, absolutely critical. What's your thoughts, Jimmy?
I wish it was a mistake on my part not to have watched the trailer again. I remember watching the trailer with the Millennium Falcon. They had that little clip of the Falcon flying through Jakku. I probably watched that 47,000 times. Just because I was just like, oh, it's back, like freaking out. But they probably never showed, obviously probably never showed Luke in that or in any of the footage.
No.
But as a person of my age who grew up with the original trilogy, the idea of them all being back together, I guess I never thought about them not being in it together. Do you know what I mean? Like, it never dawned on me that we were going to get the story that we got. Now, I walked out of there pretty pleased, pretty happy with The Force Awakens. But I will be honest with you, I never considered that we were going to get the story that we got. Like, I assumed that there was going to be another generation, but it was going to be pushed forward by the trio. Do you know what I mean? And maybe Lando, and of course you got Chewie and R2 and C-3PO, these characters that we know and love. And I just thought it was going to be kind of a transitional movie for everybody. So for me, yes, 100%. But I never thought about it because I just assumed that's what we were getting.
Fair. What about you, Mark?
How long have you got? So I think Charlie stimulated a really good point of conversation about the excitement that it led to, to December 2015 and the seamlessly hugely long build up to that time. So Jimmy, I think we're of a similar age, so we're a little older, we've been around a bit more, and even going back to like the build up on the internet forums for Phantom Menace, when it was filming in London in '97, I was obsessed with getting these little tidbits. And that was one of the most exciting times of my life. And to sort of see that run up to the film, and there were a couple of internet forums around there. But when you come back to when Disney brought Lucasfilm, which I think was October 2012, it was definitely 2012 in the autumn. That period from that day up until December 2015 was just unreal. And I think largely that was just to the imagination that people from my generation and people from your generation just wanted to know where these three characters were. And they didn't announce them till pretty late. I was hooked. I was obsessed in the build-up for Force Awakens. There was a couple of websites. There's good old Mark's Fan for Tracks, who were fantastic covering it. There's another great website called Star Wars News, and every single little tidbit what we started to get out, because we didn't start filming until I think it would have been the April of 2014. And do you guys remember the first ever bit of information we got from film from The Force Awakens? There was a clip in a newspaper of Abu Dhabi, and there was an attack's foot, like the attack. There was a foot leaked in the newspaper, and it's like, why the hell is there an attack in the desert? And just that whole excitement and anticipation. So yeah, I think it added to the anticipation hugely. And as Jack alluded to in the second trailer, which came out, I think April 2015 at Celebration. Was it Anaheim?
Yeah.
2015, yeah, it was Anaheim. But the second trailer come out there, and we saw Han for the first time, and that was just, I fell to the floor literally. I broke my dog bowl for my little doggy, and I was really upset because I just literally broke it so badly. And I think Disney were a genius in how they built on that anticipation, because we saw Han in 2015 in April. Then there was another teaser trailer at San Diego Comic-Con in July 2015, and we saw Leia's hand. Until the movie opened, that's all we'd seen.
Yeah, they were clever.
And Leia's hand, and we never saw Mark Hamill. And there was so many rumors going around about what his role was going to be. And the closer you got to the release date, the more and more this rumor that he's just going to be in the last scene seemed to be more and more real. But so to answer a question, just I think it lended to the excitements and the build up so much. But
yeah, they pulled it off perfectly, I think, and building that excitement is extremely important as well. That they had to be included in my personal opinion as well, because it is all about the passing of the torch, which is super key. Sort of leads into the next question. Any more points from anyone on that first one though? Go on, Charlie.
Charlie needs to go.
I'm going to eat my microphone. That's how excited I am. I was deep in the Tumblr like Star Wars fandom when The Force Awakens was announced, when the trailer started coming out, and I think getting to interact with it at that time with the only word to describe the fan base is probably hungry. We were absolutely ravenous for anything, the tiniest amount of detail. And then you see Han, and I cried my eyes out. I remember sitting on my bed with my laptop just sobbing because, oh my God, it's them. It's happening. It's actually happening. It's really Star Wars. This is really Star Wars. And I do have to agree with you guys. I think Disney crafted that hype spectacularly, used these legacy characters in such a way that it was enough to keep us interested, but not enough to tip it over. I'm really glad that we didn't get the Mark Hamill reveal until we were all in the cinema at midnight.
Yeah.
And got to the end of it.
We didn't get to see Snoke. Snoke was never in the trailers. He was never in the art. And JJ had alluded for a long time that this character of Maz Kanata was so special. And, we're not going to see her. And it was just, as you both said, just a masterclass in crafting anticipation. They knew exactly what they were doing. They're not showing us Mark Hamill. Exactly what they were doing in not showing us Princess Leia, and they kept us guessing right from October 2012, from that announcement right up till whatever it was, the 14th or the 15th of December. That's a 3-year period, and to feed, as Charlie says, to feed into that hunger, it was very clever.
Are they going to do the same, do you think, as well though, for the Mandalorian? Obviously, there's a lot of legacy characters that we may or may not see. We've had no real snippets, if you like. I think we've seen the same scene numerous times. Yes, we've seen a clip of Zeb. Obviously, we've seen Sigourney Weaver's character. Go on, Jimmy.
We haven't gotten anything really from them, right? Like nothing's been released other than the stuff that and I was not. I think we're waiting. I think it'll be Super Bowl before we get a trailer, personally, or maybe a little bit sooner, maybe Christmas time or something.
Good shout.
Charlie, this next question is solid. If Disney had announced the sequels without Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, or Harrison Ford, do you think fans would have shown up in the same way? And I think we've got a nice spectrum of ages here. So, but we're also not the typical. I would say we are not typical Star Wars fans, right? So we have to take it with a grain of salt because, like, we're on here doing a podcast about Star Wars, so. We were going regardless, but what do you think? Do you think like your generation or just fandom in general would have been as eager and it would have, $1 billion? Does it make that?
So I think my generation and younger generations would have shown up, would have gone and seen it, would have gone and participated in it. I think your generation, that sounded really pointed. I didn't mean it to.
Whoa.
Your generation, no. I think
Dang.
the generations who grew up with the original trilogy as, excuse me, as their Star Wars movies, I don't think it would have hooked them. I think those three characters were so essential in casting the net through the whole of the Star Wars fandom. Like, I'm sorry, I've said this before on the show. The Force Awakens was a unifying moment. Ignore the rest of the films, ignore The Last Jedi, ignore The Rise of Skywalker, ignore all of it. The Force Awakens, we all got up, we all went to the cinema, and we all went home for a little while, all of us together, regardless of age, gender, it didn't matter. We were all there for Star Wars, and I really do think I have to say, I think the legacy characters were such an essential part of that. So essential, especially the way they were handled in The Force Awakens specifically. Again, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, Force Awakens, perfection. Mark, how do you feel?
I think it's an absolutely fascinating question. And I'm having a really, really deep think as you're talking about it. And one thing that I immediately thought is that I wonder, I'm talking about Jimmy and my generation, presumably Jimmy, we both saw at least the last two probably in the cinema and grew up with it. And I was one of, I think, a few people who, being in my early 20s when Phantom Menace came out, was obsessed with it. And I loved the prequels. I thought they were fantastic. A lot of people from my generation didn't like the prequels. And I find Star Wars fandom fascinating how now we're another 20 years forward from that, and the people who grew up with the prequels are now the podcasters and the bloggers and the people who are being really active in the community, hence the resurgence and the new appreciation for the prequels, which I love to see. But I think it's my generation which has the biggest problem with the sequels, right? Because you ruined Luke, you killed Han. And I wonder if they weren't in it, and if in 2015, if they'd just gone with a Mandalorian thing, and they'd said, here's some new characters, here's something you've never seen before, would the sequel have a better legacy? Because we haven't ruined anybody's childhood, and we haven't seen Han suffer a silly death, and we've not seen Luke give up. So would they be held more in the respect of Andor and the Mandalorian if they went for something brand new? Just fandom just interests me so much, So maybe they would have been held in a better regard. But as you said, we're not typical Star Wars fans, and I sometimes think as a larger fan base, they're just an impossible bunch of people to please.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, maybe it would have had a better legacy if they'd just gone with a Mandalorian or an Andor type model and just rolled with that and not messed up anybody's childhood. But I love the sequels, so I'm happy.
About you, Jackie boy?
I think that's what they're doing with Ahsoka at the minute, because Ahsoka is a lot of people's, like Mark said, childhood legacy hero, etc. Especially, let's say, the newer generation, the past 30, 40 years, etc. Again, the way they handled the characters, arguably not great, in my personal opinion. Harrison Ford didn't even want anything to do with Star Wars at Return of the Jedi, let alone Force Awakens.
He had enough, hadn't he? He was supposed to just be killed in the carbonate, but
exactly.
With Harrison, money talks, I think we need to talk about money later on, but
and then again, everything else that comes with the fame, all that stuff. I don't think the fans would have shown up in the same way with the legacy characters. Not a chance, because I personally think that a lot of people, me included, took my son, my daughter, because they were in it. I was, showing them these characters for the first time on the big screen with that initial feeling. There's people I remember there's two people in my cinema that literally got up and walked out halfway through.
For real?
They were quite vocal, like literally. I was shocked.
The Force Awakens?
Genuinely.
I thought The Force Awakens, apart from some people saying it was a rehash of A New Hope, I thought The Force Awakens is pretty universally appreciated. So what you're saying then, Jack? You're saying that you think they went the right way around it. So what if they had gone straight in and The Mandalorian was episode 7 with a brand new cast of characters? The only thing we know is is a Mandalorian looks a bit like Boba Fett and Grogu looks a bit like Yoda, and that's what people from my generation of the sequel fans would sort of liken it to. If you put
Exactly,
the
because you're
Mandalorian,
relating. You're able to relate to people that already like something they love. This is the beauty, I think, of Starfighter. There's literally zero, nothing. You know, we've got a pilot.
Yeah,
everyone likes a pilot, so let's see how that goes. I think Starfighter will be the test. I think that is the test for Disney. If people take to Starfighter, then maybe we'll see more sort of Jedi Sith sort of stuff.
The fandom is just a fascinating beast, isn't it?
You got to compare it as well to Marvel Avengers. You know, when's the last time the Infinity War ended? Was it like 10 years ago off the top of my head, give or take? So they're going into the realms that we're going into now. You know, their characters.
17, yeah.
Yeah, you got like your Captain America's gone, Iron Man's gone. You know, Black Panther to Chad Boswick, God rest his soul, gone. You know, how are they going to feel now when they're seeing all these new characters come on? They are exactly the same, I think, as we were going into Force Awakens. So I'm interested to see how that relates over.
All right. Would Lucasfilm still have framed the sequels as part of the Skywalker saga or moved to an entirely new era of Star Wars? So this is the question I wanted to kind of get to, because like, what is the story? Now, they're not a massive part of it, obviously, but they're enough to, you know, we're looking for Luke, Han and Leia's deal. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Force Awakens yet. They're separated. But you know, what do you guys think? Like, the perfect question. Is it still part of the Skywalker saga, or is it like Mark said, and it's like a whole nother thing? Like there's just a whole new resistance. I mean, it kind of hurts my brain to think about, and probably exactly why with this short amount of time they had to create, film, you know, edit, is why they did it the way they did it, because they wanted to make, you know, they needed to get their $4 billion back. So what do you think, Jack? What do you think the story is, Jack, without the legacy characters? Is it a Skywalker saga?
No, it has to be. They had to use the Skywalker saga. It's the whole Skywalker, whole legacy characters. Personally, I think was Disney's safety net. If this falls through, for example, if you're using those legacy characters, you know the effect that they've had for the past like 30 years, 40 years, build up to the point they're at now. If they didn't use any legacy characters, then yeah, it's a brand new era of Star Wars, but it's a massive gamble. And I think that's where they're at now, is there is no more Skywalker stuff left. They can't be. Move on from it. The last 2-3 years have proven that Star Wars can survive without Skywalker.
Yeah. Which The Mandalorian and Andor is just a perfect example of that.
What do you think, Chuck?
I couldn't agree more with either of you. I think Disney weren't ready to do brand new Star Wars, brand new characters, brand new story. When that changeover happened, I think there was kind of this chasm between the prequel trilogy and when they were coming out with the sequel trilogy, and this purchase happened in the middle of all of that, and it left us all quite worried and quite concerned as Star Wars fans. It was an extremely divisive thing to happen. There were cries of, oh goodness, George Lucas has ruined my childhood again, he sold it, it's going to be awful and terrible and horrible. And I think the legacy characters were so unbelievably essential, and if they hadn't used them and tried to do something brand new, like it links back to the previous question, I don't think fans would have shown up for it, and I think it would have flopped even harder than it already did. I know, obviously, I'm a massive sequels fan. I think they're brilliant films. There are people who don't agree with me. That's absolutely fine, but I don't think they'd have been able to carry on with the Skywalker saga without the Skywalker characters. I feel like that could have gone even worse than what we already ended up with. It's so complicated. Jimmy, tell me how you're feeling about it.
I think it would have been, I don't know how they don't tell the story they told us, right? We don't get The Force Awakens anything like this without those characters, because it wouldn't have made any sense. I feel like they could have done some kind of either Dawn of the Jedi, like come out with that, like start out with the beginning of the Jedi, But again, they don't know what they're playing with. But if you want to let's say you want Poe and Rey and Finn to be the main characters of this new sequel trilogy, you know, it would have been so bizarre, so different. Because like you know, we've got some questions in here. Who teaches what? Who does this? And I think that they couldn't have. I don't think they could have done this film without it being tied to the Skywalker saga. I mean, I have ideas in my head, like, you know, Rey could have, you know, what would they done if she finds Skywalker's, you know, because she finds his lightsaber and then the Force Awakens with her somehow, you know, random, or she ends up on Takodana and Maz sends her on her way or something. But, you know, the Aftermath series had been written already, correct?
Yeah.
So we kind of had that all set up for us. The characters were still there. There were characters they could have pulled from that. They could have done all kinds of things. They could have told that story if they wanted to, away from the main characters, because there's a really cool band of like imp hunters, if you will. And I think that would be a beautiful
Mr. Bones would be class.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And the young characters that, you know, have grown up. But yeah, so I don't know how they would have done it. I think it's a completely different story. And then, you know, that also leads into your bad guys, and that you're bringing in another First Order, or you're bringing in Sith, or you're bringing in, you know, some kind of outside pressure. Is it a galactic scale? I mean, so I think for the reasons you guys said, they went straight with the Skywalkers. This is the easiest route. This is going to get us the money. This is going to bring the fans in. Mark and I's age. This is going to connect. So, I mean, I think it's probably the right way to go. I just don't know how they would have done it otherwise. Sorry for that long answer.
So, Jimmy, come into your initial question on that. It's something really interesting to add. So, you know, is this the Skywalker saga, or is this a story about a new breed of characters? And as Charlie said, I'm a huge sequel fan. I love them. I love all three of them. And the reason I love them is I'd rather have them in my life than not have them in my life, right? I'm glad we had them. I'm glad we had those 6 years, and I'm glad we had that moment. And there's some things annoying me about The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, but I'm so glad we have them in our lives. I'm so glad we have them in our lives. However, and I don't like to criticize the sequels because I'm a huge defender of them. But if you know, I'm always studying something to do with Star Wars, and to really get behind the scores of Star Wars and really understand how the music was written and why it was written. I'm often reading the Rinsler books and as many sort of production notes as I can. Now, the making of The Force Awakens is a fascinating book, and it's a really, really great story, because you watch the episode 1 documentary at the beginning. The first thing Lucas tells you is like, here's this story. I had this story. This is episode 4, 5, and 6. This is what happens. This is episode 1, 2, 3. This is what happens. So I honestly think they didn't know where they were going for episode 7. And the fact that we just kind of said, you guys move in and you take the story where you want, then you guys move in. But the thing about, if you delve into the making of Force Awakens, is I think it was designed to be far more of a Skywalker story than we got. Because do you guys know what the opening scene was before they cut it, the original opening scene? Do you remember?
Wasn't supposed to be in the Jedi Temple.
No, it was Luke's. So you were supposed to see
Luke's hand floating, right?
Luke's hand floating from the sky after his fight in Cloud City and landing, and Maz Kanata picking it up. That was supposed to be the opening shot, and they changed that because they said, actually, you know, we don't want to start off saying that this is Luke's story. We're going to actually start off with Lord Antaka and Poe Dameron, and very, very quickly to Rey, because this is their story, and they cut it out for that moment. And also they had Leia come in much earlier in the original draft. You know, that whole subplot with was it Corsella, the character that Macy Richardson played, and she was supposed to take the message. That was supposed to be a really, really big story part. And I remember when she was cast, everyone was like, oh, she's going to be the leading lady. You know, she's going to have a huge role in it. And then they cut that whole story arc out because, again, it wasn't Leia's story. It was Rey's story. I think it's fascinating. My only biggest hope, and I'm really worried about this, is we've got a 10-year anniversary coming up in December, right? And I've heard nothing about what we're going to get, and I really want it to be celebrated. But I'd love to see all of those deleted scenes. I'd love to see the original vision of it being more of a Skywalker story and seeing that opening crawl. And what we know in the middle of September, I'm kind of worried we're not going to get it. But that footage is out there, man, and I really want to see it. So I think it was originally more a Skywalker story, and then they kind of thought, no, we need to make it about a young character, which is why they continually change things around the way. But I still love
Mark,
them.
that is such a beautiful point. Like I'm absolutely speechless. It's so nice to spend some time with a true sequel lover, not like these two menaces over here.
I like 2 out of the 3.
Which one don't you like?
It's not enough, Jimmy. It's not enough.
Oh, it's beautiful of them.
That film is a visual masterpiece. Anyway,
that's
don't get me
fine,
started
but it
because I
doesn't
won't
fit the
stop.
trilogy.
I just think.
Me.
Tell me I'm wrong. Beautiful. I want Rian Johnson to get his trilogy way away from Star Wars. I think it'll be a beautiful, great story. He can surprise me at every turn if he wants, but stay. But that's not his fault. That is Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy's fault.
This is not having the entire arc. Yes. That is the problem.
Not Ryan's fault. He did a good movie. I just don't feel like it fits the trilogy.
I would bet that we could sit here all night and talk about all the positive things about The Last Jedi. I think there are so many, and I just try and focus on those.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone knows the problems, and it's just there's so much good in it.
There's still good in you. I think Mark's lovely point leads us really nicely onto the next question, which these questions deal specifically with kind of the removal of individual characters. So without Leia, without the icon of Carrie Fisher returning, who would have been the political or moral leader of the Resistance? I feel like she was such a key part of that story. How are we thinking? What are we thinking, guys?
Admiral Akbar.
That's what I was going to go with. That's exactly what I was going to go with.
It's a trap.
He was cast as her second in command, right? Surely, but I got that message in the Force Awakens. I mean, I'm a massive Admiral Akbar fan, and I think Tim's a lovely man, and I love what he's done with the character. I love his passion for it. But Admiral Akbar.
Got Holdo as well.
Oh,
the obvious thing is
leave her alone.
If they could work out the timeline, which I can't do the maths because it's late at night, but I think the obvious answer, what would have been a successful thing, would have been Genevieve O'Reilly's Mum Mothma, because just given how successful she's been in Andor, but I think in this timeline she'd probably be gone, right? She wouldn't be around anymore. But I think that
she's at the club dancing. She's not worrying about anything now.
And with what's happened now as well, in like Andor and everything else, well, why not Harrison Dorler as well?
Yeah.
Oh.
Harry would have been a great shout.
She would, yeah. I mean, she's like the mother of the rebels. Why couldn't she have been? I don't. Again, and I think, like you guys said, like I don't think they could have made this trilogy. This story couldn't happen without these characters. I mean, nobody fits that bill like Leia does, and she was barely in the first film. You know, so
do you guys remember the first photo drop from The Force Awakens of them all sitting around the table?
Yeah, the script.
Yes.
And there was so much criticism back then. Straight away, there's one strong female lead in there other than Leia. It's like, what are you doing, Disney? And Kathleen Kennedy, who I'm a defender of, said, just you wait to see what we're going to do with female characters in the next 10 years. And how right she was. Think of some of the most amazing female leads we've got. So I think that, that they were thinking, okay, we'll do Leia for this sequel trilogy, but we've got a lot of strong kick-ass girls. Give you over the next 10 years. And there's a lot of speculation in the build-up to Force Awakens, where Ahsoka might have fitted into that originally as well. It wasn't to be in that timeline, but if she's
dead, apparently.
Oh.
Rise of Skywalker. Wasn't she one of the voices that reached out to her?
Yeah, but
Yeah, true.
but Filoni's argued that doesn't mean she's dead.
Who knows?
Yeah, 'cause she can access the world between worlds. So
Who knows?
Yeah.
She's going to live forever,
Who knows?
or until Dave
denial,
Filoni.
Jimmy.
Yeah, nope.
I mean, she's still, of a good sort of working age in The Mandalorian, which is what, 5 years before The Force Awakens, is it? Oh,
It's 5 to 7 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, there's
she's like
still
in
another 12 years before. Right? Is that the timeline? Like 12 years before the sequels? Then.
Yeah.
So then she's in probably.
Is it 30
I
years?
think it's suggested that in The Mandalorian that she's probably in her. Yeah, if she was human, she'd be in her sort of 40s or early 50s. So there's no reason in The Force Awakens she'd be in her early 60s, which was the same age as Carrie Fisher. But I just think they kind of saying, we've got a lot of kick-ass girls to go, and that's been like one of the positives for the last 10 years, right? All these amazing, strong female characters we've got, and all these characters from diverse backgrounds as well.
Who would you have had, Charlie?
This is the thing. It would be a toss-up between. I think it would have to be Hera. That's such an unbelievably good shout. I feel like that would have been like the kind of natural progression for it, and for her as a character, 100%. Also, I'm fairly sure it's established in canon that Twi'lek and Togruta like age at a much slower rate than like humans do.
Like
so,
because me and Jimmy, we actually just researched on that. I'm sure we did. And it's like 200 years they lived.
And then you add the Force, and they can live even longer.
Yeah, I was going to say add the Force as well.
But
and
again,
suddenly...
a common trend with all this, and it leads into the next one, right? So without Luke, who'd take on the mentor of Rey, I'd definitely have Ahsoka again as a mentor for Rey.
Of course.
But again, I still think they rushed the sequels, yeah. But imagine if the sequels hadn't been released now, but we've be at the point where we are now with everything we've had with Ahsoka and everything else. Imagine if it weren't the Mandalorian Grogu coming out next year, and it was The Force Awakens.
Oh,
gosh, that would be different.
Be a completely different story. I think
that's such a great point.
Better or for worse?
I think you could have done something with any kind of you could have introduced it. Luke is a good one, right? Fan favorite, obviously, and I think there would have been a massive backlash if he hadn't. I mean, he was only in it for like 30 seconds anyways, and that upset people, and we were all excited about what was going to happen in the next movie. But I think they could have found another Jedi, someone who had, find some creature or find the Bendu or something, some kind of animal or species or something that could have trained Rey. And this is where I think the story could have gone differently. Rey's out adventuring. She's a scavenger, maybe not on a desert planet, and she finds a Jedi temple or something, and there's a crazy caretaker or something that turns out to be a Jedi that's like they've secretly passed on the general. Maybe it's Obi-Wan and Satine's kid's grandkid or something. You know what I mean?
If you lived in the galaxy, right, and you needed to drop your kid off somewhere safe, you would drop them off to a Jedi temple, not to a junkyard dealer.
Well, I'm going through Shadows of the Sith right now. I'm just about done. And there's a specific reason they give them to Unkar, but yeah, I would have tried to. But in their defense for that, the Empire annihilates any good word in the history of the Jedi, basically just erased. I mean, it's only 19 years later after Revenge of the Sith, and people haven't even heard of Jedi or don't remember them, or you know what I mean? Luke's like, what? Kind of thing. What are the Clone Wars? And so I mean, and again, that's some of those issues are not. It's not fair because those are written way back then, and we're trying to mash things together. But I think they could have replaced Luke. I don't want them to, but they could have replaced him easier than the other two, because you just needed a Force user, and you had the opportunity to create a new Yoda or whatever you wanted,
With the whole lightsaber thing as well, chucking around about that's more of I'd say an Ezra sort of thing.
Yeah.
But not chucking it away because he doesn't want nothing to do with the Force. But how it started off in Ahsoka, he didn't really use a lightsaber. The Force is his ally. Do you know what I mean? They could have gone down that route as well with it. But yeah.
Do you know what? I think the more you discuss this subject, the more it becomes really apparent that there was no solution. You can't please
Yeah.
it because George Lucas, when he started A New Hope, everything was new, and he could do whatever he wanted, and he was so brave with the prequels, which I loved for him. There was a little bit of fan service, but an entirely new world, an entirely new atmosphere. But with Disney, they were taking on such a different role. It's like, who have we got to please? We've got to try and introduce new fans. We've got to try and please the old guys. We've got to try and push it forward. And everything from Disney was reactive, wasn't it? We was talking about the thing I really don't like about Disney is just their reaction. They never give time. So you think how quickly the Acolyte was gone. It's like, oh, people don't like that. No second season. Solo didn't do very well at the box office because they didn't market it very well. That's gone. And Disney were just constantly trying to react to please everybody. And I just think they shouldn't have really worried about it too much. You can't please everybody in Star Wars. Just make a great film with great characters and great music.
Speaking of characters, one of the other great characters that we obviously came across for the first time is Kylo Ren. So Kylo Ren's entire arc is tied to being the son of Han and Leia. Obviously, without them, what kind of villain would he be? Or would we need a completely different one? Jimmy?
Make him have killed his mother and father, and everybody hates him from the go. No redemption. He killed Han. He kills Leia. You get a flashback, so it's similar to what we saw in with his flashbacks in The Force Awakens. But if you show him standing over two people and just, there doesn't even have to be those actors, and then he's immediately despised by the fandom. Do you know what I mean? And I think that solidifies him even more. And of course, he can struggle with what he's done, and but I was in that age, I guess, maybe that I know a lot of people identify with his struggle and things like that, and that's fine. But
that is a great show.
Just make him an unredeemable baddie. Like, we needed another Palpatine without Palpatine coming back, right? Like, And Adam Driver could deliver. Like, you have an actor, maybe the best actor that you've, outside of Harrison Ford and some of them, like maybe the best actor that we've ever had in Star Wars. He could have been the worst person we've ever seen in a Star Wars film.
He had the ability.
You think about, they do him dirty at the end because he doesn't even say another word after he talks to Han. He never says another word in that movie at the end after he talks to his dad. But anyways, I think that's the one way you could have done it without Luke and Leia with Kylo, and that would have driven that story even quicker and more fiercely. But that's just me. I think it was dramatic the way they killed him, but
and at the same time, it sort of ties in with the ending. Like, obviously, Rey at the end says like she's a Skywalker, so and everyone's like accepts that, brilliant. So did he or did he not snog his sister-in-law then before he died?
Wow, she's not blood related.
Subjective, isn't it?
I mean, Luke and Leia smooch, so what's the difference?
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
It's rhythm. It rhymes.
Listen, if you read the novelizations, it is a kiss of relief. It is a platonic kiss. There is not like this romantic essence to it that kind of comes across in the film. It's actually meant to be more of a like, oh my goodness, I'm alive. It's got more of that kind of like acceptance, thankfulness, gratefulness, like the way Leia and Luke kiss in Empire Strikes Back. It's people took it as like a flirty thing. It's more of a, oh, you're alive. I feel like they were trying to mirror that energy, but obviously it still comes out a little bit weird when you actually consider the context of it.
With Kylo, I just think we got it perfect, and I agree completely with Jimmy. Like, again, going back to these rumors, this 2012 to 2015 sort of cycle of trying to extract information from anywhere you can. People were saying when he's cast, he's going to be like De Niro, and 10 years later, I think he's pretty much on his way. I think they did a brilliant job with Kylo in all three movies. I really, really do. I don't know if that's a popular belief, but
no, I
like this struggle. Yeah, I mean, I like the struggle. I just think my idea is just to drive the story forward without Han and Luke or Han and Leia. Like, you know what I mean? And
I tell you what, I think they did really well as well. And they didn't insult our intelligence, but so thinking about the Force Awakens, so you get the thing on with Lavan Tekka and Poe Dameron, and then straight away in that scene it suggested that Kylo Ren is belonging to somebody, but he's somebody's he's somebody we know's son. I mean, it's only about 15 minutes into the movie when you first see Snoke, and he just tells the audience, you are the son of Han Solo. So there's no kind of like, let's keep them guessing until the end. And I love how he just made it really clear from that point onwards. I thought it was really clever. Just kind of say, yeah, we know that you know, and you know that we know. So let's get on with it.
Yeah, no, fair.
I think it was
leads in nicely. Sorry, Mark. It leads it into nicely as well. So you mentioned like you were happy with how they sort of dealt with or wrote Kylo Ren, how he's portrayed, etc. Fans were divided over how the sequels handled Luke, Leia, and Han. So sort of goes back to our original few debates at the start of the episode. Without them at all, do you think Star Wars fans, would have been even harsher on the films or more accepting?
Some of them depends. We're all these different types of Star Wars fans, aren't we?
Yeah.
But I guess for true fans we've learned a lot about who we are as Star Wars fans over 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And I guess we can all appreciate that they were needed in some way. Whether there's a lot of obvious things people think went wrong with the legacy characters in Star Wars, but I think there's a lot of things they did right as well.
What I'd like to hear from are those people, those fans that only just found Star Wars at Force Awakens, that have no idea who Luke, Leia, and Han are.
They'll be doing these podcasts in 30 years, Jack. Like you guys who were so venomous against the prequels, especially in the first two. But we didn't know there would be sort of 9-10-year-old children growing up, and that was their life. So
yeah.
I think in 30 years' time you'll have these people who, the new characters to the sequel meant the world to them. I think that's going to be an exciting time. I'm not sure if Jimmy and I will be here to see it, but
you'll still be going. You'll still be going. Charlie, any thoughts?
It's definitely an interesting one. Whilst I don't think that like the death of Han Solo, or spoilers, or Leia flying through space, or Luke disappearing was a problem. Wasn't a problem for me because I didn't have so Mark, for just a little bit of context, these two know all of this. My first Star Wars film was The Phantom Menace on a VHS.
Perfect.
I didn't know that
you tell this story. Yeah, I've heard you tell this story.
I didn't know there were any others. And I ended up so sort of hooked on all of that. And it meant that when I watched The Force Awakens, I didn't have this like deep, lifelong history with these characters. So whatever Disney chose to do with them, for me, it was all for the plot.
Exactly.
It was all for the story. It all made sense. It all fitted together. I wasn't sat here like gobsmacked because Luke disappeared because he gave up. That's not how I took it in the slightest. So for me, I think if they had or hadn't included the legacy characters, my opinions and feelings would still be the same. It makes little difference for me personally. But like you've said now, it's this, how do you please everybody? You can't.
Yeah. I think when we start to hear from the people who were born in 2005, in another 20 years' time, and I think we'll get a greater understanding of it.
The thing is as well, and this is a question aimed at you and Mark and Jimmy really, is in that period when A New Hope was obviously released, were there many heroes people could relate to? As in Superman, Spider-Man, I don't know if Spider-Man was pretty big then, your Batman, He-Man, Luke Skywalker, I think at that period of time was such a massive cult icon. And for the way he was sort of seen off or killed off, it didn't tie him with his character in the originals. What do you reckon, Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Like, comic book movies, and like you don't have the Iron Mans and the Thors and the Captain Americas. I mean, you had very few comic book movies that were done to a level that were respectable during our youth. So yeah, I mean, Luke is important to people my age. And I can see why. I mean, I wasn't super like thrilled about how he was handled. Like, do I want to see him do some crazy stuff? Yeah, but and you listen to Mark Hamill talk about things. But I think you're probably spot on. Like, they write these movies in the 70s because Lucas was tired of all the negativity and stuff, and it's all about hope, and the one person that encompasses that hope is Luke the whole time. And then we grow up and we're 40 some years old and we're ready for this hopeful guy that's going to save the galaxy again. And he's a crusty curmudgeon. It took me a second, not to be like, whoa, like what? Like, how's Luke giving up? Like, that's not when I never played the character, and I never gave up when I was Luke Skywalker. And, he bounces back and he's willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for his family and for the Force, with, by the time that we get to the Return of the Jedi. So
yeah,
I think that, now we have, just like everything else, we have so much media and so many things that, these characters aren't as important. Now they're going to be important to people. I see lots of little girls running around as Rey and things like that. Like, those kids are going to grow up and Rey's going to be their Luke Skywalker.
Exactly.
I don't want to see them.
She already is mine.
Yeah. So, like, I don't want to see them. I don't want to see her go down that same path. Like, when they come out that new trilogy, I wanted her to be hopeful, pass on the torch, be this wise leader, like the next Yoda or whatever. But yeah, I think it's a really good point, Jack, that, we sat with Luke for so long and he meant so much to so many people. Even if you weren't a massive Star Wars fan, you knew what Luke stood for.
Yeah.
And you can see why people that, I wasn't going to yell and scream and all that stuff like people did, but yeah, I mean, it was a bit shocking,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and things like him appearing in The Mandalorian the way he did.
Yeah.
Well, that was all in that article too, why he did that. And
exactly.
And that's where he started firing shade at JJ and Ryan for things still. I thought he was over it. I thought he had put that to bed and had moved on, but he took a little dig there. He didn't say anything directly about them, but he complimented John and Dave in a way that says, I don't think these two directors knew exactly what they were doing with these characters, so, but I don't know, Mark, I mean, I love your take. You love it as it comes to you, but you have to admit, you were probably a little bit shocked that Luke was a crusty curmudgeon in the second movie, like, given the Luke Skywalker that we knew and loved.
What would have been the alternative?
Yeah,
the alternative would have been just
him out looking for something, maybe, or he's trapped or something.
When I saw The Last Jedi, and I went to the midnight premiere of all of these movies, and then I went straight away as soon as I could put all my eyes open the next day, and then it's only a second view when I started to really process it. I kept with Last Jedi. I didn't really think about that too much. Then I started to. I just thought, it just goes back to this trying to get too hung up on trying to please everybody, because none of us have any entitlement or ownership over Star Wars, right? We've all got our own introduction to, Charlie, you talked about coming into a different way to where Jack did and where Jimmy did. And we've all got our own views on it. And to people who came in watching The Force Awakens, as their first experience, then Luke's not going to mean that much of a deal to them. In retrospect, they will. But I just think if the alternative, if he had come and been the hero and saved the day and turned up on Crate and been there and been the hero and returned to his former glory, there's just going to be loads of complaints with that's too predictable. Like the storyline for The Force Awakens, it's so predictable. And again, was that part of The Last Jedi, and then bringing in Rian Johnson, just, we don't want to do something what they think we're going to do, but Luke's going to return and be the good guy, and he's going to give exactly what they want, because Disney was so hung up on reaction, and they wanted to well, let's do something different. Perhaps that's what they want. They didn't want to see another New Hope with a female character. Let's do something really different. I think Disney just worried way too much.
Yeah. Well, we could literally talk about this for hours. Any final points on that last one from you, Charlie?
It gets convoluted when you end up talking about kind of individual characters this way, but I think for me, on the kind of issue of like Luke being grumpy, I would like to remind people he was whiny when he was on Tatooine. He was whiny when he was in Empire Strikes Back. He was whiny in Return of the Jedi. Like that.
But you see the past through rose-colored glasses, Charlie. Come on now, you know that.
Leave me alone.
You only
Leave me
remember the
alone.
good things. You only remember the good things.
Jack, can I
midnight in Paris, Charlie. Midnight in Paris.
Let me say something to you, Jack, about I think you asked Jimmy and I thought another really, really fantastic question about who were the heroes in the late 70s. And yeah, we're in a saturated market right now of heroes. And certainly from a movie start thing, I mean, yeah, Batman was kind of gone in those areas where between Adam West and Tim Burton. Spider-Man was gone off the screen. Superman was pretty great, but I don't know what Jimmy thinks, and I want to ask him this question, and then perhaps Charlie and Jack, you can sort of put your sort of prequel spin on it. But to me, some of the coolest characters that I really looked up to and that I wanted to play in the playground and I wanted to be, they weren't always Luke and Leia and Han. It was like
Mine were always the bad guys. You look behind my shoulder.
Nine Elm, Admiral Akbar, Bib Fortuna. In fact, I was more annoyed.
Bad guys.
I was more annoyed in The Last Jedi when we killed Admiral Akbar. I think I was more like, that was my hero.
Oh, I was so mad.
That was my guy, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what about when you're talking to prequels, you start to think about, you know, Plo Koon and Kit Fisto. It's not just always about the, you know, the big characters. So those little characters meant just as much to me, you know? I wanted to be Bib Fortuna.
Everyone wants to be Bib.
Yeah, I wasn't playing as Padme and Anakin in the playground. I was Jar Jar Binks.
Exactly.
I was always Jar Jar Binks.
I believe that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Where is my Jar Jar cameo in my sequels, please? And thank you. That's it.
He's a sad clown on.
Stop! Don't! I can't.
He's a sad clown. I can't remember what planet, if it was Naboo or not, but in the Aftermath series, he's a washed-up circus performer guy.
I can't think about it. I actually can't. I can't.
Redemption. Right, like I mentioned, we could literally talk about this for hours, but I've got one final question, and I hate 50-50 questions, but I just need a yes or no answer from us all, and we'll put this out to all the listeners, viewers. Let us know in the comments. So, I'll start with you, Mark, then you, Charlie, and then you, Jimmy. The question is, do you think the sequel to trilogy might actually have worked better without the original trio? No. Yes or no? Mark's going no. Jimmy?
Oh, my God. With a different story, yes.
Okay.
Mandalorian. Andor, yeah?
I think
no.
Just yes or no. Yes, with a different story.
Yes, with a different story. I'm with Jimmy as well. I'd have definitely said yes with a different story.
I think they would have to work much harder to get you to fall in love with Andor. You know, if that was the first thing we saw.
Totally agree. But that's why they pay the big bucks, Mark, and we're not. So, as always, thank you for joining us, Mark. We super appreciate you on the show. Now, obviously, before you go, we've had the sneaky Imperial agent rendezvous with a little data disc. We know you've been working on a little something.
Plans. Yeah, so you know, one of the things I've started to do, I guess, since I started to get involved in live music at Star Wars cons, is to sort of think about reworkings of Star Wars. And if you look on Spotify and Apple Music and things, there's lots of people who do covers and they just try and kind of replicate what's already out there. I mean, I love Samuel Kin, don't get me wrong. I think he's a genius arranger and a genius orchestrator to just expand the current sound of Star Wars. But I guess
Mark, but give yourself some credit as well. Now you've been playing a lot of stuff, so tell us, the listeners and the viewers, where can they find you? What have you been working on?
Well, I'm doing my third volume of Star Wars covers at the moment. Hopefully to come out in October. Just in my home studio here, got all the instruments around, and I'm pretty lucky to have a really nice studio attached to my house, so I can work. whatever. So I'm working on a new collection of Star Wars music, and it's getting a little bit difficult now, guys, because the first one was like Leia's theme and Yoda's theme and the fourth theme and Across the Stars, all the ones you think you do. And the second one, I was like, I've got to do some sequel music, so I did Rey's theme, and I got as far as doing Burying the Dead from the Clone Wars, which seems to be the most successful one that people seem to attach to the most. But for this third one, I was like, got to look a little bit deeper. So I'm working on Twin Suns from Rebels. I'm working on When the Sun Sails and the Moon Walks, it was called, from the Clone Wars, and it was used in the last episode of Ahsoka. But the thing I'm trying to do is just to take these liberties with these pieces and show them the absolute respect and love that they deserve. But also to kind of think, and it kind of backs onto when you guys contacted me, I said, I think that's a great thing to talk about, because what I've been working on kind of backs on with what you've been talking tonight. So I had to go at a piece of music called Darth Vader's Death. It's one of the ones I started working on in the summer, which frustratingly isn't on the main soundtrack that you get on Spotify or you get on vinyl if you get the full edition. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous piece of music, but it's not as widely known. You'd recognize it from the film instantly. And I had this idea, which I thought was kind of cool, that as Vader's dying and Luke's, he's saying, "Tell your sister you were right," and he takes his last breath. The music's just kind of a bit of a mashup of Vader's theme and some sort of, although beautifully orchestrated and beautifully textured, it's just a somber version of the Imperial March, right? It's just dun 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 dun, with a little bit of a rhythm change. So I was just thinking over the summer, I was thinking, if the Vader we know in 2025 was the Vader that was dying, so the Vader, everything he went through for Padme, right? Before he did. So it's kind of, what if when he's dying, he's thinking of Padme, as well as Luke? I always kind of think it was really, really cheaply. This is one thing that really confuses me about Jedi, right? It's like, oh, I need to have this beautiful reconnection with my son. It's like, oh yeah, tell your sister as well, don't forget about her. It's any time he ever references her, he's like, he has this sort of obsession with finding Luke, but he knows there's another one. He knows that Leia's out there. He's kind of just Luke, my son. So I started to think, if he was dying, what if I could sort of weave in bits of Across the Stars, bits of Anakin's Dream from Episode 3, bits of the music where he's having his nightmares in Naboo, in Attack of the Clones, and just kind of sort of reimagine what might be going through Vader's brain in his last few breaths. So I was kind of thinking, I'm going to do it. Then I'm going to sort of turn that into Across the Stars, and I'm going to sort of turn it into a little bit of Anakin's theme, and then I'm going to throw Leia's theme in the right-hand speaker. Then I'm going to, we didn't even reference, because we didn't know. We knew that Obi-Wan was a great friend, but we didn't know there was a brothership and there was a love, and there was just this sort of deep belonging and hurt. Between them. So I use a lot more of Obi-Wan's theme in Vader's dying theme. So it's a piece of music I'm working on. It's going to come out properly at the end of October. If I can get it in time for Echo Live, it'd be nice, but we'll see how the next couple of weeks go. So it's kind of my reimagining of Vader's dying music. It stays very faithful at the start, and then I start to just weave in, as he's closing his eyes and he's passing away, he's thought about Luke. Now he's going to think about Padme. He's going to think about Obi-Wan, and he's going to think about Leia. But on his actual dying breath, I think he'd be thinking about Padme, right?
Love it. I absolutely love the passion. Mark, thank you so much for joining us this week. Listeners, viewers.
You guys, thanks for all that you do. I love listening to your podcast, and I have some amazing questions tonight as well. Some amazing questions. So well done to you all. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mark. Listeners, viewers, here's the sneak peek.